Hi there, this is Laura from Teacup Lion, and I'm going to show you how to use a ladder stitch to close the finishing hole for your plush. So this is probably one of the most common stitches that I use by hand, and it is for this, for example, the last hole in the plush that needs to just be finished by hand. Can't really do that by machine. So the type of thread that you want depends on, one, what the plush is going to be used for, and two, how firmly it's stuffed. So this is sort of a collectible art doll. It's not going to be handled a lot, but it is stuffed firmly, so I want to pick upholstery thread or heavy-duty thread. And because the fabric is white, I would use white upholstery thread. But since everything is kind of white in this video, I'm just going to use this brown thread to show you how to do the ladder stitch. So I'm keeping in mind that I machine sewed this stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I'm going to want to keep the same seam allowance for this same curve. The nap is running downwards, so I'm probably going to stitch downwards. I'm going to start with my needle on the inside, and I'm going to pay close attention to where this last stitch is from the machine. I'm going to start above that, just so that my stitches are very secure. Now I'm not inserting my needle right in the center of the seam because that would allow the knot to pop through, so I'm just to the side of the seam. Little stray pellet. Okay, and now I'm going to work up to a 1/4 inch seam allowance because I'm, again, not quite at the last place that I stopped sewing, I'm slightly above it. So stitch in on this side and pull. Stitch in on this side and pull. Now these are small, maybe 2 to 3 millimeter stitches. So you notice as I pull the thread, it kind of tangles. I really love this stuff. It's Thread Heaven thread conditioner. It keeps it from tangling like this. I just wanted you to see what that's like for this video. So right now you can see the stitches. I like to press the fabric in a bit to the plush and pull this thread at the same time to hide those stitches. And if you use a thread that's the same color as the plush, you won't see them even more so. So I have reached the part of my fabric where the machine stitches have stopped, so I'm going to make sure my next stitch is 1/4 inch away from this raw seam. Now, if you're having trouble figuring out the distance, you can use a ruler and trace with temporary fabric pen the lines that you will be ladder stitching so that your stitches are parallel to each other. I've just done this so many times that I can eyeball it. So now you see why it's called the ladder stitch. I'm just sewing back and forth. Make sure that your threads don't get tangled on any other parts of the plush, as they were on that ear. So as I pull, you can see that they all close. You can use some hemostats or forceps to put in any last stuffing if you're noticing that it's a little understuffed in this area. You kind of sometimes won't notice until you're just about to finish up. And then the next thing is, if you have any little fabric puckering out, like this at the end, and you're like, oh no, I don't want a belly button on the back of his head, use a chopstick or gently with the tip of your awl, just press that seam allowance inside the head, and then you can cleanly finish your stitches. I'm using white thread for this part, I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to show you quickly how to knot. I'm finishing my last stitch at an angle. This, where the needle's going in, is at 1/4 inch seam allowance, and where it's coming out is right next to the machine stitched seam. Push it through, pull it down tight. Okay, next I'm going to put the thread through a loop, like so. I'm going to press the tip of this other needle right where the thread was coming out of the plush. Hold it in, pull this one. This is making a knot very close to the fabric. And as I pull, I don't want to pull only out, but downwards as well, and close it around this needle. This technique I have on my website called How to Hide Knots. You can view it for more details. So now I have a little knot on the outside. I'm going to stitch right down next to it and out maybe a centimeter away over here. I'm going to make sure these threads go down evenly together, and I'm going to pull until I hear the knot pop through. Okay, I'm going to secure it one extra time by trimming and making a knot here. Voila! All clean and closed up. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps your sewing.